Across the tech industry, teams are working to make smarter investment decisions while navigating tighter budgets and shifting priorities. Many engineers and developers contribute directly to these decisions, but the financial models behind them aren't always intuitive. In this episode of the Azure Essentials show, we break down the fundamentals of evaluating cloud and technology investments through concepts like NPV and ROI. We'll also walk through examples that show how different investment profiles can lead to different decisions, even when the metrics appear similar on the surface. This episode will give you practical tools to better understand how your work fits into the broader investment picture, so stay tuned. Welcome back to the Azure Essentials show. I'm Catherine LaPlante from Microsoft Finance, and I'm joined by Chris Shi, a Finance Director here at Microsoft.
Thank you, Catherine. Super excited to be here and chat a little bit more about ROI.
Today, we're kicking off the first episode in our series on maximizing investment value in the cloud and technology space. We'll start with the fundamentals of how to forecast and estimate this investment value. Chris will join us a bit later to walk us through how to navigate trade-offs in constrained environments. This session is designed for engineers and developers who want to better understand the types of evaluations that your business partners use when making technology investment decisions. By the end of this episode, you should feel more comfortable with the concepts and terminology that shape those decisions. Today, we'll touch on the KPIs of NPV and ROI. Then we'll dive into the components and drivers for building out financial projections. We'll go through a few examples and touch on common pitfalls. And then lastly, Chris will walk us through trade-off considerations in decision-making. Before we dive into the financial metrics, it is important to approach investment decision-making through a multi-layer lens, capturing both the direct financial impacts as well as the strategic value. For an example, an investment may enhance customer experience. The value of this is likely more intangible and difficult to model, but we still recognize the strategic value of this to an organization. Every decision must be made from a holistic perspective. Let's introduce today's key terminology. The first is net present value, or NPV. NPV estimates the present dollar value of an investment in its future cash flows and indicates whether an investment will be value accretive or value dilutive to an organization. Positive NPV investments should be accepted, and negative NPV investments should be rejected. This is crucial in go or no-go decision-making. The key underlying concept in NPV is that $1 today is worth more than $1 tomorrow because there's an opportunity cost to making an investment. There's always the next best alternative to which an investment should be measured against. Next is return on investment, or ROI. ROI is a measure of how profitable an investment is by comparing the total benefits to the total cost. This materializes as a percentage or a ratio and indicates the benefit per every dollar of investment. Next, we'll dive a little bit deeper into these metrics. You won't need to memorize these formulas, but at least be familiar with the concepts. NPV is calculated by taking the cash outflow of an investment made today and subtracting it from the summation of every annual net cash flow for the lifetime of a project. However, those yearly cash flows are discounted back to present value, or the value of those dollars today, using a discount rate set by your organization. ROI is calculated by subtracting all costs from the benefits of an investment and dividing this number by the total costs. These costs should include both the upfront costs as well as all ongoing costs of an investment. As you and your business partners are building out the projections for your investment, there are a few key important things to remember. The first is to ensure that you model out the full project horizon. If the investment will continue to exist in perpetuity, make sure you model out to steady state, or else you will not capture the full value of the growth during the scaling years. Secondly, because these projections are all forward-looking and built on assumptions, make sure you sensitize each key assumption and understand the quantitative impact of volatility in your assumptions. It's especially helpful to understand what needs to be true in order for an NPV to be negative, or what needs to be true for an NPV to be positive. Now that you're familiar with the concepts and the formulas, let's spend some time on the components of these formulas. For both metrics, you need to make sure you model out both the benefits and the costs. Let's start with the benefits. The first benefit is business growth. An investment can help your organization grow its business by boosting sales of an existing product through increased volumes or through increased prices. Or your investment can help your organization sell a new product altogether. There are also several types of cost reduction benefits. The first category here is spending optimization. In this category, an investment can help your organization be more efficient in its spend. An example here could be migrating from an on-premises data center to the cloud, where IT costs are much lower. The next category here is productivity improvement. Your investments could expedite processes and through automation and saving your staff time that could be reinvested back into value-creating work. The last example here is risk mitigation and cost avoidance. Your investments could help build systems that prevent payment of fraudulent invoices or implement checks for non-compliance errors that would otherwise result in penalties. These are just a few examples, so in your analyses, make sure you think through all possible benefits and you identify the quantitative ranges of upside that your investments could drive. Next, we'll dive into the cost side of the equation. The first is the cost to achieve. These are your upfront costs of an investment. Examples in this category can be research and development, procurement and acquisition costs of any capital needed, the development and headcount costs, any infrastructure, security and compliance costs, and also just the training and change management in order to implement a new project. Many investments require high upfront costs, so it is important to consider all aspects as you build out your valuations. Next, we have the costs to maintain. These are your ongoing costs once a product or a project has been launched. Some examples could be operating and maintenance costs, if it's a cloud product, cloud consumption or licensing costs, any materials, labor costs, and many more. As you model out these costs, make sure you spend some time thinking through how these costs will scale over time. Will they grow linearly with revenue, or maybe they'll plateau and reach some sort of steady state, or even decrease through cost optimization. Next, we'll take a look at a few examples putting NPV and ROI into action. The first example has a positive ROI and a positive NPV. In our analysis, we will use a discount rate of 12%. For simplicity, let's assume this was provided by our business partners. Next, we will forecast out our cash flows, starting with the upfront investment made today of $1,000. Because this investment is being made today, it is already in present value and does not need to be discounted. Then, we will model out the projected net cash flows for the lifetime of the project. My net cash flows include both the costs and benefits assumed in each year. Next, we calculate the present value of every net cash flow using that 12% discount rate. The summation of these provide our final net present value. In total, this investment drives cash flows of $650, a positive NPV of $115, and a positive ROI of 65%. This suggests that it is a value-creating investment. Now for contrast, let's look at an example with a negative NPV. In example B, we start with the same discount rate and upfront investment, but our cash flows are a bit lower each year. If we use the same modeling approach, we end with $250 in total cash flows, a positive ROI of 25%, but a negative NPV of negative $156. This investment, despite the positive ROI, should be rejected. The key takeaway here is that you should always utilize NPV for go or no-go decisions because the ROI alone doesn't communicate the full picture. Let's look at a few more examples of how ROI and NPV interact with each other. In example C, we have a much higher net cash flow each year, resulting in $14,000 in total net cash flows, an NPV of just under $9,500, and an ROI of 1,400%. This looks overwhelmingly positive. However, let's compare to example D. Example D requires a much higher investment cost upfront, but it also generates much higher cash flows. If you were asked to choose between these two investments, traditional finance suggests that you should pick example D as the investment that drives the most value. But example C is much more efficient with its investment dollars with a higher ROI. Let's say that you could do 10 investments with similar financials to investment C instead of doing investment D alone. That would result in the most value in aggregate. The takeaway here is that NPV and ROI must be examined together and investment decisions must be made within the context of a full investment portfolio. Now, I will bring Chris back up to walk us through trade-off considerations in these environments.
Thank you, Catherine. So, why are these metrics important? Fundamentally, most businesses or organizations at some level are trying to drive growth with limited resources. And that's true for many different types of companies, right? You can be a startup with cash flow constraints. You can be a large public company with endless expectations on margins and P&L, or you could be in an industry where talent is constrained, so limited engineering hours. And that's where these metrics come into play. So, how do you do it? As Catherine mentioned earlier, I would recommend using a holistic approach, but which both considers the strategic value of the investments and alignment to the company's overall strategy and mission in conjunction with a data-driven approach about decision making. So how does it work tactically? The first thing to look at is the strategy alignment with the company and its overall mission. For example, if you're a online travel platform trying to expand and looking at project ideas, one of which is, maybe selling real estate. Before even looking at the numbers, you should ask yourself, is this in line with what we want to do as a company, our goals and mission, as well as our core competency? And then once you have alignment on strategy and mission, we should use a quantitative approach and look at some of the metrics that Catherine just talked about, NPV, ROI, etc. And I think the key thing to note here is you should have a business case, but it's also important to think about the upside and risks to your business case. I'll give you a couple examples. You could be modeling a business case where the main costs are large language model costs. And because that industry is still newer, the model costs could be going down significantly, right, over the last few years. So that's definitely something to consider as you think about costing. Or you could have a business case about a new technology, but what if the technology gets displaced in the next, let's say, few years? Those are all very important risks to consider. And then I think the other thing that's really important, as Catherine alluded, is to understand the upfront investment and how that fit within your company's total envelope. And that will have a direct impact on how many projects you can do. Once you go through this process, I would say you have a solid foundation in terms of how you think about prioritization among the different investment projects that you have. The important thing is, when in question, definitely don't hesitate to reach out to your finance business partners, they can definitely help. Now back to you, Catherine.
Thanks, Chris. And thanks to all of you for joining us as we walk through how to evaluate technology investments using ROI and NPV. We hope the examples and frameworks we covered today help you feel more confident connecting your technical work to the decisions that your business partners are making. You'll find links to supporting resources in the description below. And as always, we welcome your feedback. Leave us a comment and be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes in this series. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on the Azure Essentials show.
Thank you.